Hi guys, we're back with another video today, as we said we would be on Sunday. Today what we're going to do is we're going to do a description, or rather an explanation of Charlotte's anxiety when she was in year 7. So obviously just moving into big school. Obviously that's a huge change and a massive shift in environment. Anxiety is defined as a feeling of worry, nervousness or unease about something with an uncertain outcome. And I think, as you'll elaborate, that environmental shift into secondary school was certainly something which Charlotte couldn't see a clear definition of.
I always like to just give a brief update of this week. Again, not an easy week. My mother's funeral on Thursday. Sundays, believe it or not, I used to really love. I find them very, very difficult now. They were a day that Charlotte and I would always go shopping. And obviously she's not around now, so we find different ways of getting through the day, but it's been a tough week. Anyway, I'd like to start by reading you something which she actually wrote, which is out of her book, which I'm still plugging on with, and I've actually done 40,000 words, so I'm quite pleased with myself. So this is what she says. There was a period of calm until I started at my secondary school, September 2008. In May 2009, year 7, a letter was written to CAMS, but they said I needed school counselling. The day I started big school, I remember tying my brown hair into 2 plaits. I wanted to look what I thought was my best at the age of 11. I didn't start wearing makeup until a couple of years later. I remember that first assembly my year group had together. Everyone was put in their form groups. When you're 11 years old, you're still a child and still have strong curiosity. I had to move up with 3 girls from primary school. We all got on, but as life goes on, people grow up and change. I met other people at school who I thought were my friends, but actually weren't. I didn't really have anybody that I felt genuinely cared about me. As I said earlier, all my life I tried to fit in. For some reason I had got along with adults better. I find them not so judgmental. I struggled in school a little and was not initially motivated. As young girls do, I cared about my social life and image more than schoolwork. And Miles actually has a reply. This is actually from CAMS. It's just a paragraph that was in a letter from CAMS at that time.
Clearly there are a number of concerns, primarily school-based, around Charlotte's vulnerability, sensitivity and anxiety with regards to coping socially and academically in school. This manifests itself in a number of peer dynamic issues, and culminating at its most serious with Charlotte being unable to attend school and reporting how much she hated school.
She, in year 7, compared to the rest of the years, actually was relatively easy. She found it very, very difficult, and I think even at that young age she had vulnerable plastered across her forehead and which buttons to press, and the kids did know which buttons to press, and she did find it very, very difficult at break times, even in year 7. Year 7 she did manage to get out. As time went on, she didn't even manage to get to any of her breaks, and I think she was desperately lonely, and we did start again with not being able to attend school and one thing or another. Yes, I think year 7 was definitely the start of what became a very severe anxiety disorder. She would always be very anxious in the morning about going to school. The first term was probably alright, but after that it got increasingly more and more difficult, and she would get more and more nervous in the mornings. And it would be to a point that she wouldn't actually, certainly in the second term, she was reluctant to go into her form room and would actually sort of mill around outside or see who was in her form room first. I think if your child is anxious, I think what I always used to do with Charlotte was I used to get her to write stuff down, because I find that helped quite a lot. It's sort of almost like a stress relief. And also to talk, to listen. Very important to say, how was your day? Also very important to get any issues out, if there were fights or anything else, to really be on top of that, and to try and work with the school. Charlotte's school was enormous. There are over 2,000 students there, so it's a very, very, very large school indeed.
Well, as we said, we want to kind of keep this anxiety theme going to raise awareness of that in conjunction with Charlotte's type and other brain tumours. So what we're going to do, we're going to kind of serialise it. We had part 1 last Sunday, which was the primary school episode, and we're going to do years 7 to 11, so there'll be 5 more of these, this one included. So hopefully you guys will find it interesting, and I think the biggest piece of advice that we can give you, and we're going to keep reiterating it at the end of all these videos, is that firstly, mental illness is a very real thing, and if you know anyone who is seeming to act different, I mean, you don't have to spy on them or anything, but maybe just keep an eye on people, especially during that kind of transitional period between schools and sixth form, because it is very difficult, because it's such a seismic shift in terms of relationships, friendships, people, teachers, so it all changes. So I guess the advice we'd say is just make sure you monitor how your kids are doing, I guess.
And if kids are watching this and you're seeing somebody being bullied, for heaven's sake, tell somebody, tell an adult. Don't just walk away, because it's really, really important. Because as I said, there can be Charlotte was affected for many years.
She was affected
afterwards.
until she got cancer.
Yeah.
And she probably would have continued to be affected if she hadn't had that diagnosis. So the long-term impacts are quite frankly devastating. So it's incredibly important. Even some of these bullying situations seem incredibly kind of benign, and just maybe taking the mickey. It's not for the person who's on the other end of it. So that would be our message for the day, I think.
Absolutely.
Just to be vigilant and to stand up to people if you see them being nasty, I guess. So we'll be back on Wednesday. I think we're going to do more kind of viewer requests on Wednesday, and try and keep that a bit more kind of interpersonal with you guys. And obviously the Sundays for the time being will be the anxiety. And if you have any other ideas and stuff we could serialise like that for the Sundays, which will be more serious, then please let us know.
And then eventually we'll move on to Charlotte's story of cancer.
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay guys, well thank you for watching. I hope you have a good Sunday afternoon and enjoy.
Bye.